So in 2K25, we got to figure out which one is the best archetype. Now, you are going to have to use, or at least you should use, all 5 of them. Naturally, because there is quests for each 5 of them, and all 5 have a different ability at the end of kind of your, I think it's overall 85 that you've got to get to, which you definitely want to have a tryout. So we have Greenskeeper, we have Powerhouse, we have Technician, Sculptor, and Magician. Now, all of them, as you can see, will have different strengths and also different skills. So, for instance, if it was to go with the green, I think that one's pretty much self-explanatory. But also, alongside these different archetypes, you can see at the top the power, or at least the attributes, do have a better overall for different stats. For instance, if it was to look at the Powerhouse, the maximum on the power is considerably better than you will get for the Greenskeeper. Obviously, depending on what you want to kind of go for, I would definitely try a lot of them, but in terms of the top, if I was going in a 5 list, if I was going 5 to 1 on which ones I personally think are the better ones to try out first to the least, so we'll start out with the least. I think Powerhouse normally is a massive one in my opinion. This is normally the biggest one you go for. Everything is power, 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 power. Everything's about hitting it as far as you possibly can. But now with the new Evo swing, all of the corrections, the contact, the swing path, just transitioning, everything about the swing and just how you play is down to more a mechanical side than just whacking it as far as you can. So I think the Powerhouse for me is coming in last, and that's a shame because it's normally the first one I go to. It's the first person I've actually made on this, and I totally agree. The power's great to have if you just want to whack it, but realistically, other than the driving range, the putting is definitely a much needed skill as such. Then up in 4th, I've gone for the Greenskeeper. I think with the lack of power, it's great for the putting element of the game, and most definitely if you can get there in the minimal amount of shots, then you're doing absolutely fine when it comes to having this. And I must admit, the green reader skill is what I really want to have a look at as kind of like an overall 85 that we will get to eventually. I would say then coming in at number 3, I would personally go with the Sculptor. It's one again that, depending on certain scenarios, I think it's okay, but it's very middle. It's very medium, kind of just nothing too crazy with it. I'm not necessarily the biggest fan. It's kind of one of them ones that you could argue between Sculptor and Technician. But I must admit, the Technician, after hearing it so much, I feel like it's been embedded in my brain from other people kind of going down this route. But I think for me, number 1 has got to be the Magician. I absolutely love this ability, or love this archetype. It works really well. Obviously, it's got the contact down to a T. It's got great balance between the correction and the power. Everything's working really, really well. And then the recovery skill also is pretty good if you find yourself in the harder scenarios. Now, all of this is completely irrelevant if you have it on easy mode, because naturally, if you're on easy, it doesn't really affect too much. You want to be having it on the harder difficulties. That's where it does get down to the point where each kind of archetype has a massive kind of ability with your hooks, your slices, if that's going to be a big issue. If you've got it on kind of like the legendary difficulty, that's where I think Magician, kind of your Technician, Sculptor really come into play, and the Powerhouse becomes just that little bit more difficult in my opinion, and not necessarily the greatest ability you're going to have. So obviously when it comes to the overall 85, you've got the recovery skill for obviously the Magician. You've got the knockdown skill for the Sculptor, you have the pick skill for the Technician, the power drive for obviously the Powerhouse, and the green reader, which is going to basically give you a better line of sight when it comes to actually putting, which is something I really want to try out. So we will have to use all of them. Every single one of these has got an objective that you have to complete to get to like level 90 or level overall 85 at the minimum. So naturally you want to try them all, but that's going to be my list for each one of these.